So, hello, I'm Kelly Mammarella-D'Cruz, and welcome
Yes.
to MenSpeak Radio.
You wish.
Hello, I'm Bertie, and welcome to MenSpeak Radio. We just thought we'd kind of kickstart it again. This time, like obviously over Zoom, so it's socially distanced and all that. I don't know what else to say on that.
I've missed MenSpeak Radio. I've missed going to town. I've missed the studio with headphones and a big mic and all of that kind of stuff. I've missed it. It was really, really good fun. I guess in a way I've missed our lives because we've been separated on hold. I mean, it's all right for you two. You just fucked off to Portugal together. But, you know, it's like we've been on hold for a year. So good on you, Bertie, saying let's do it again. And good on you, Paul, saying let's do this topic because I think it's perfect before Christmas, eh?
So do you want to do 2 minutes for us, Kenny? Okay.
So ground rules are on, I think, mensgroups.co.uk. Are they, Bertie?
Yeah, somewhere.
And we all agree to the ground rules, I take it. Otherwise, we'll be biting each other's heads off. And considering it's radio, should we do 30 seconds instead of 2 minutes?
Yeah, that'd be better, actually.
Cool. Right, here we go.
Right, so I forgot for a second then. So Kenny has made me facilitator of this. So thanks, Kenny. And we'll do your name, how you feel, and how you survive your loved ones.
Cool. Okay, cool. So my name's Paul. I'm feeling pretty good, but a bit sore today. I went swimming yesterday in this open air pool that's near me. So it's been a while since I've swum. Felt good though, felt really good. The water was like heated to 28 degrees. So it was like steam coming off of it. It was just amazing to be outdoors and swim. So a bit stiff from that, but good for moving. And the question was,
how do you survive your loved ones?
We're going to do this in a nutshell and then discuss later because we could be here forever with Paul. Or maybe you just take a minute because he doesn't love anyone apart from himself. Do you know what I mean?
That's more like it, actually. It's an interesting one actually because it's come up recently, sort of quite a lot in the sort of daily check-ins that we do. And for me, I know if I spend time with my sort of mum and brother, there's a dynamic between them that is quite difficult sometimes. I guess I feel like I've changed quite a bit. And my mum is sort of still stuck in a kind of survival mode from when my dad passed away, her husband. So she's just, ever since I've known her, she's just been in this panic mode, this kind of surviving mode. You know, she's got these sayings that she says over and over again, like, you know, we've got to take each day as it comes, and she hasn't really sort of planned beyond that day that she was living back then. So it's quite stressy to be in that environment. So I usually kind of give myself a bit of a time limit. That sounds really bad, doesn't it? But that would be how I survive that space. Is otherwise I get pulled into the dynamics, and it really affects my day, really affects me. So try to just sort of limit the time I'm with them, And unfortunately, this Christmas, I think we're not going to really be seeing much of each other. There's no invitation to go around there. We'll have our family here, Anna's family and the stepkids. So, yeah, we'll go around and see them, but it's not going to be for too long.
Thanks, Paul.
Cool.
Kenneth?
My name is Kenny. I feel good to be hanging out. I had a meeting. Before the meeting, I did the check-in. So for those that don't know, we've been holding daily check-ins since November and weekday check-ins since lockdown, and they're just an hour. And it was so good in the check-in today. It was feisty. It was well feisty. And we got into some really, really interesting stuff. And I missed it. I think I haven't been all week, and it's Thursday now. So that really kind of, you know, space for me, space to explore, space to play. Nice. Otherwise, I'm working so much, or I'm just in my own headspace, which is quite a dark and murky place at times. So I feel good. Survive loved ones. I think I used to survive loved ones as a way of life, because life was survival, where now I feel like I either have to accept rather than want to change, or leave. I can't leave everyone because I might be related to some of them, so they're going to be around forever one way or another. And I guess this is more extended family rather than close family. And same with individuals I love who I'm not related to, where I do forgive the ones that I love. And I guess for the ones that matter, I'd stay for the shit and through the shit and beyond the shit. For the ones that don't matter, unless I'm doing some sort of a martyr thing, or I'm got slipped back into being in the victim club where I don't have any choice or boundaries, then it's like, then I guess I'm in survival mode with them. But no, these days I would rather tell the truth, feel good in my relationships and come alive in them. So I got to speak things out, or have what you mentioned, Paul, know my sell-by date or their sell-by date, or for how long it's good. And that's nothing personal. It's the same as eating apple crumble, you know, the third helping, and it's not as exciting or tasty as the first. So back to you, Bertie.
Thanks. So I'm Bertie. I feel nervous. Like, as soon as I knew that this was going to go on like a podcast or whatever, it's just changed everything for me. And now I'm like thinking, oh, what am I going to say? And people are going to listen to this, and people are going to judge me and my background. I was like, is there anything incriminating in my background? And yeah, and also, yeah, I suppose like I'm not sure how much to share. There's stuff going on in my family, which I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable with sharing. So I feel a bit nervous and a bit up in my head, a bit overthinking. And surviving loved ones. I suppose you guys have named some things like, yeah, knowing my limits, you know, and I suppose the obvious kind of things like just breathing and you know, going for walks often. Also like going to the groups, going to the check-ins are going to be running over Christmas, so I'm sure they're going to be like essential for lots of people, like including myself. I think learning how to communicate in a way that's on my loved one's level, rather than kind of forcing them to, because I generally, like, when with my friends, I like to talk about real stuff, and I like there to be depth and all of that. But if someone can't access that, or it's too scary, or it's just not their language, then I guess it's really helped me to just accept that they don't, that's not their thing, and to just meet them where I can meet them. And that's normally just, it might be quite on the surface, but it can also be really just playful and heart connected. So trying to connect on a more heart connected level, because I think you can do that with anyone, really, or I can do that with anyone.
Can be dangerous.
Go on.
Have you done, or am I butting in?
I'm done.
I must admit that I do feel the same. I would always rather a heart connection than a head connection, because head connections can just do my head in. Talking about judging something, and generally it's justifying or debating, or we're the victim to this and this. That's just so boring. So yeah, I agree. And there's a time and a place for head connection as well. But then what if people fall in love with you? That can be, what if everyone falls in love with you? What if you fall in love with everyone, or even 2 extra people? And what if one of them wants to shag you, but you're already shagging the other? That's dangerous. Or what if love? So for me, I could say that when I was younger, I would love, but when it got more intimate or closer or more vulnerable, then I feared smothering, or I feared being engulfed or overwhelmed or trapped, or all of these things. And I needed to work through that and find out how to navigate love, how to exist, rather than, oh my God, I'm loved, what's expected, what should I do, how do I do this? So, it can come in layers. It can be conditional love rather than unconditional love, or unconditional love can turn into conditional love, or maybe they only know, or I only know conditional love. Know what I mean?
I don't know. I guess I just don't think about that.
You're the lucky one.
Me neither. I was like, wow.
Really?
Such a simple kind of topic and subject in my head to like, okay, there's all these other things to think about.
Maybe it's best that you don't then, because if you don't think about those things, and I do, you're quite happy with the So now I've spoiled your love. Now I've complicated your love. So are we talking about how to survive loved ones in certain situations or areas, or over Christmas, or?
You said it, so.
Oh, did I?
Yeah. I think it was, talking about Christmas in particular.
Should we do a round on that?
I was kind of talking about Christmas. I had that in mind, going for walks and limiting the amount of time to how much I can take. It's all about, I suppose it applies to Christmas and to as usual.
So what I think you're saying then is that one of the ways you survive your loved ones is by taking space, rather than just being with them all the time. So there's space for you and what you can consolidate or get grounded or catch up with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And another way that you survive your loved ones is by meeting them where they are, rather than expecting them to meet you where you are, which might not be of interest or they may not have access to.
Yeah, and even beyond that, it's your thing of like being the party, or like having my own party. So not relying on them to have a fun interaction or like an enjoyable reaction, just like just speaking at them and talking about fun things that have happened to me, or talking about things that I'm passionate about at the moment, or making my own fun. That's been really good for me as well.
So it didn't used to be that way, and that's a new thing?
It's pretty new, yeah. I used to, I don't know, be very serious and I don't know. Yeah, it just wasn't. I was coming from a different perspective or attitude, which didn't let me have, fun as easy as that. And it was the kind of searching for a way, like, right, if I ask the right question, it will, the right deep question, then we'll have a good conversation, or or waiting, or like trying to fix so the other person's happy, so then we can have fun again.
Would it be fair to say that you were coming from am I, but you're now coming from I am?
Yeah, even though like I hated it when I first heard you talk about that, because I was like, what the fuck does that mean?
Do you want to explain what it means then?
Well, it's hard, because it's like, I feel it more now as a feeling than something I can explain logically. But because when I'm more in the am I mode, then it's like I just feel drained, or I feel insecure, or just unhappy and kind of searching for something. And where when I'm coming from the other one that I am, then I just feel more self-assured, I feel better, I feel happier, I feel more joyful. And it's like I don't care as much what people around me think or how they are. It's more about how am I.
So to use your Christmas story, am I would be showing up, hoping that everyone's okay, waiting for someone to say what's going to happen, waiting to be invited or joining into what's happening, and basically handing all the power over, handing the party over, hoping it's going to happen, and not really existing in the situation. Where I am would be taking yourself to the party while having your own thoughts and feelings and whatever's going on inside of you, and sharing it and being the party. And whether there's a party already going on or not, it's just merging parties, or just like having a you to take and be met and to play.
Yeah, definitely.
It sounds like that's not survival. It sounds like that's good management of how to be with loved ones.
Yeah.
Survival's almost like a negative spin, eh?
It is, yeah. But that's what you said.
Well, you made me say it. Cool.
You're quiet, Paul.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking. There's something that came up, was like remembering Christmas, kind of like past Christmases at different relatives' houses, who sort of up growing up, and then as I was a teenager, and then as I got older and turned into a man and stuff. And I think one of the things that, I mean, it's probably not going to happen this year with this kind of separation and how many people you can have around your house stuff and all that, is that if I went to like a relative's house and I've changed, they still see me as the person I was, when I was a teenager or, you know, or a kid, and if I spend too much time with them, it feels like it pulls me back into that, you know, me back into that space of being that adolescent or teenager, not sure of direction, all these things, and I'm not that person. So I really struggle with that, putting on a good show type thing. And I just wouldn't know how to break that.
When's the last time that happened?
I guess it still happens if I go around and see my mum and her partner.
So you slip back into the sun?
I can do, but probably I'm quite conscious most of the time. But the fear is if I stay there longer, then I'm going to be pulled back into this old version of me, the way they view me. And then it sort of conjures up all these kind of thoughts and projections on them, you know, that, yeah, it just gets complicated. So it's easier for me to limit the time.
So it's like the old tensions come up of, I need space for me to be me, to be my own man, beyond being your son, or beyond my history and who I was in the past. Do you know, listening to that reminds me of a conversation I had recently in a group where a bloke was saying, here I can be me, where in my life I can't, because this is who my family expect me to be. This is who my drinking people expect me to be. This is who my drinking people, they call them mates, don't they? This is who my mates expect me to be. This is who my work people expect me to be. This is who my uni friends expect me to be. And it's like everywhere. And this, I guess these are all his loved ones. No space for him to exist because there were so many expectations of who he used to be and who they expect him to be. And that's not wrong or bad. That's just how it's always been. And I don't know about YouTube, but a lot of people have said that after coming to the groups for a while, they get to know who they are more. And it's not like they have to make battle with themselves or the people in their lives. But it's like Bertie said, there is a them in existence to take to the party. And that's a game changer. It would be so easy, and I think a lot of people or organizations do this, where the outside world people or the old people are the bad people, and these are the good people because we'll respect you when you can grow. Rubbish. It's like, it's all good. It's just about, well, have you introduced yourself? Do you have boundaries where people can meet you? And do you know who you are to take yourself to the party? But yeah, I remember slipping into the old roles, and it's not all bad, but it's so interesting to notice when it happens. And I agree that after a certain while, I just need my space back. And it's not away from them necessarily, it can include them, but it needs to be with good boundaries. So it might be that spending an extra day might be overwhelming, but being away and spending an hour every day on the phone is absolute bliss. It's just different boundaries. Does that ring true?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I get what you were saying earlier about, you know, there's this kind of like, I can be me, say 99% of the time now with the people that I hang out with. There's just the 1% that pulls me back into this old view of, oh, you know, that's Paul, high school dropout, you know, and that's the splinter, the thorn in my side, I suppose. That how do I introduce the new version of me?
I wonder what age you were at when being a high school dropout was initially an issue and a label. And I wonder whether, because, you know, so many people are desperate to get the right grades at school and uni and this and that. And then it gets to a stage where no one cares, no one asks. It's more, can you do the job? Do you fit in the team? Are you good to be around? Do you listen? And can I work with you? Can I trust you? And I would rather be with a high school dropout who I can trust and buzz with and get things done than the biggest, most boring, bullying, pointless nerd or lovely person on the planet, because it's not going to happen. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
I wonder whether this is about your label or theirs.
Yeah.
And you know, I didn't even know that you were a high school dropout. And how many years have I known you now? 10 years or something?
Yeah, 10 plus years. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm.
You've aged well. But you know, in over a decade, it's like suddenly you're a high school dropout. No one told me I could have, like, you know, twisted that knife. I've missed out here.
You can twist the knife now. It just won't have the same effect.
So it's no longer an issue apart from this 1% of people.
Yeah.
What makes them special? Not that I'm saying I'm not special. I don't want to be, but why that lot?
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of projected stuff still. So, you know, I see them looking at me like the way I imagine they're looking at me is that, you know, Paul is still this teenager that can't look after himself or hasn't learned any life skills, and they never have ever asked me about that stuff. They never have really asked me where I went on from being that school dropout. And that pisses me off that there's no interest there.
So you have a need from them?
Yeah, it's when I'm in that space, yeah. The rest of the time, it doesn't bother me at all. I barely think about it until you bring up things like this, and then obviously make me feel really shitty. And
and when do you see these people? Are they actually in your life at all?
They are now, actually. We've moved up to the Peak District, and they live down the road, actually 15 minutes. And my mum lives 30 minutes away now. And it's like, okay, so now I'm surrounded by family again, who used to all live down in South London or Kent. And it's like, I'm surrounded by them again. So there must be something in it.
Is your need for them to ask you who you are and what happened so they catch up and respect you or get you or bow down to you?
Yeah.
With respect and honor.
Bow down to me. This redraw that.
I love the way you said yeah there, by the way.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, just, I don't know. It's just really difficult to initiate that conversation. What am I going to do? Like stop them at the dinner table and say, what about me?
Do you know who they are? What happened? Or is it just a predictable route type thing?
It's, yeah. There's a lot of surviving. So it's like, how do I get into that? I don't want to turn the Christmas dinner into a group session. And it's sore stuff, you know. There's a lot of surviving. There's a lot of unsaid things. It's, you know, from the past. There's a lot of unsaid stuff now. There's a lot of performing for each other. And I step into that space and I feel it. It just doesn't feel nice to be in.
God, this is so juicy for me at the moment, because people I'm working with at the moment are having conversations with their closest group of friends, their families, fathers, brothers, exes. There's something in the air, and it's not even Christmas yet, but there's something in the air where people want to say, you don't know me. or I want you to know me, or you don't care about me, or I don't care about your values and they're hurting me. And a lot of what's going on is compensation due to money and power. I've never really seen money or power buy. I'm very, very lucky that I've never seen money and power buy happiness. And the reason I say I'm lucky is if I did see it, then I might chase money and power. But because I've seen the opposite, I know not to chase money and power and to cut out the middleman and just you know, do the happiness thing. So who do I need to be to gain your approval? Do I need to be married? Do I need to have a certain house in a certain area and a few rental properties that I'm too embarrassed to discuss? Do I need to have children and maybe matching furniture and vehicles? Do I need to have a lover on the side so the boys think I'm one of the boys and really cool? Or is it these kind of things? How much money should I have? Or I wonder how people are judged, counted, evaluated these days. And I guess it might be different for families and different for groups of friends and, you know, different values for different people. And I feel like maybe, and this might purely be my projection, that what you're talking about is I don't buy those values and that's not important to me. This is what's important to me. And I'd like to meet you here. But I understand that that's important to you because that's your survival.
I think there's something in that measure. So if I pulled up at Christmas in a brand new car, then they might ask or see me as successful. But if there's no measure on my growth, because it's all internal stuff, and I'm happy with next to nothing, how do they approach that? How do they meet that?
What a vulnerable thing it might be for them to meet someone happy. If happiness doesn't come naturally, or if it's a vulnerable thing to share. In some families, in some circles, if you're happy, then you're asking to be brought down a peg or two, which is generally public humiliation. Now we're getting heavy. Over to you, Bertie.
With
I don't know, with public humiliation and values. How do people value success? And I think what you said is spot on, Paul. Growing up with, you know, or spending the life savings on the wedding for the community to be talking about forever, or even just to keep up appearances. And so many families and lives have been dedicated to what other people think and keeping up appearances. Meanwhile, if there's depression and devastation and suicidal thoughts and feelings behind closed doors, just make sure no one knows, make sure no one sees it, because we have our reputation to uphold.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm lucky. I used to get asked a lot about those kind of external things by my parents. Well, mainly my mum. When I was younger, you know, job and girlfriends and you know, career. I suppose that's the same as job, but and I don't know. Once I think I'm lucky. Maybe they kind of in the end just got where I was coming from, which is you know, I love men's groups and I'm passionate about it, and I feel very purposeful, even though I'm not earning, you know, much money at all, and I don't have the external markers of success that, you know, society traditionally has. Yeah, and even with, like, you know, a girlfriend, it's like I'm single, but I'm happy actually, and I don't need a girlfriend. So, well, my mum still asks about the girlfriend thing quite often, but I just yeah, again, I just engage with it playfully. I think I used to get annoyed or I don't know, come at it from like as if she's attacking or something like that, where now I just kind of play with it. And or I'll just say something like, oh, I'll tell you if there's someone I want you to know about, and then just move on. It's like very quick and easy. Yeah, the public humiliation thing, that's interesting. Like, I don't know, in my family, maybe a bit in my family, but certainly in my growing up, my friendship groups at school and stuff, it was like, you're not allowed to be too happy, because that's that's cringeworthy, and it's like it's just you'll get, like you said, taken down a peg or two. So that was something I had to kind of break through or let go of. And I mean, there's been one recently, which Kenny knows about, of I was doing a private singing lesson, and she was like, right, you've got to really put some emotion into this, and be really expressive, and I don't know what she said, but and I just I felt I was like feeling resistance to doing it, and I felt into the like resistance, and I realized there was a fear of, if I am joyful and happy and expressive and free, then I won't get attention. That was kind of the emotional, irrational thinking that was happening. So that's been really interesting to feel into.
So sadness and maybe illness gains or demands attention.
Yeah. And I think that was, generally, because my mum was very busy when I was growing up, with her job. Like, the time when I did get most attention from her may have been, when I was ill or pretending to be ill, or, when something was troubling me or something like that. So I guess it was kind of programmed into me. And it feels like it's the mainstream way as well. Like, I only went to a couple of support groups, but they were like, the more messed up you are, the more attention you're going to get. The worse your story is, the more people are going to pay attention to you.
Victim club.
Yeah.
And the bigger the victim, the more popular in the victim club. Yeah.
And I thought that was so interesting to learn about that, because you were talking about it the other day, attention, and how important it is, like in the men's groups, that we give equal attention to everyone, and it's not, oh, this person's got a big issue, so he like gets all the time. It's more it's more equal. It's like, someone's happy, someone's sad, they both get the same level of attention. And I think that's so important, because otherwise, thinking about it, there's no reason to strive to have a better life, because the teaching is, the more messed up you are, the worse your life is, the more attention and love, in a way, you're going to get.
When you mentioned the way that you are different with your mother asking you about girlfriends, I wondered whether you've changed, in that when she asked you in the in the old days, you'd be maybe an embarrassed little boy, surviving it and being shy, where now you provide information, and you're a playful man. Would you say any of that might have happened?
Yeah, no, that definitely happened.
For some reason. So I used to be a mummy's boy. And in that, I was the eldest son, living with my grandmother, loved by my godmother, my mother's first. And I was just adored by my cousins as well. I had 3 female cousins who were sent to boarding school. And in a way, it was wonderful. In another way, it was a curse, because I couldn't bear not having their love or attention. And I was responsible for their emotions in a way, because if they were sad, then I was sad, or maybe I was insecure, or maybe I felt I should fix it or save it, or, you know, if the men aren't there to do it, then maybe I should do it because someone should do it. And so it went on. So, you know, there's an opportunity cost with everything. And, you know, exclusion and jealousy, and, you know, not really one of the kids, not really one of the men because taken by the women, etc. And I was walking in the forest with Angela, my wife, the other day, and suddenly, out of nowhere, I had the most crazy memory that I don't think I've remembered since, well, when was this, the mid to late 90s. And it was when I was in a taxi many hours early for my flight, so in Calcutta. So I checked out of my cheap, nasty hotel with wall-to-wall cockroaches, jumped in the taxi with my baggage, and I was going to be spending hours at the airport, because it could be chaos, and it generally was chaos. And on the way in the taxi, there was a pregnant woman by the roadside, and she was just, and I could see her because there was traffic, and she was flagging cars down, and they were driving by, and I'm thinking, how can you drive by this pregnant woman? So, you know, being a nice mummy's boy, or maybe being human, I got the taxi driver to stop, and he was a bit confused. I was a bit confused. He was a bit confused, and she came to the window, and she was asking for money. And I said to her, like, what do you want money for? Obviously, she didn't understand the word. Taxi driver said, well, she says she's pregnant and she needs money to go to the hospital. And I said, no, don't worry, that's fine. So I opened the door and I called her in. And it's like, no, we've got time. I'll take you to the hospital, thinking, please do not have your baby in my taxi. I have a flight to catch. But meanwhile, and also, if you have a baby, because, you know, I've never been at the scene of a childbirth, will it make a mess? And will he want me to clean it up before I catch my... So all of these things were going through my mummy's boy head of like, what do I do? What do I do? So she came in the taxi reluctantly, and then she suddenly started getting a bit angry. And then he suddenly started getting a bit, you know, knocked. And I was like, what's going on? And then I realized that it was probably her dirty laundry. There was no baby involved. It was a scam to get dosh. So he kicked her out of the cab, and I still felt guilty going to catch my plane. And it's like, that was such a golden, memorable, crazy scene in my life. How could I forget it? But I guess it's just part of the same old finding people to save. Or someone's in trouble and they get attention, or especially a woman, a vulnerable woman. And that was my thing. I couldn't bear a vulnerable woman. And I couldn't bear the pain of women. And more than anything, I couldn't bear a woman disrespecting me or withdrawing from me or judging me or even slightly being distracted, which is just, you know, that's the vulnerable child in me and the vulnerable child's relationship to women. And I really needed to turn that around, to be my own man and to feel my own feelings when someone is angry or upset or vulnerable or pretending to be pregnant or ripping me off or smothering me with love because she never wants me to leave because, you know, it's not that she loves me, but she knows it's safe. And how much is that to navigate for a poor, unsuspecting, open-hearted child? Can either of you relate to any of that with your relationships to women? Or am I just weird?
I think you're just a bit weird. I've got two things that came up from that which I'd love to talk about, but Paul,
unless you got something to say, Paul, it's you're facilitating. You tell me to shut up and call the shots, Bertie.
What do you have anything on that, Paul?
No, it was just reminding me of this this homeless guy that I got to the end of the road of one of my clients where they lived and stuff, and he was like hobbling across the road, and he was in so much pain, this guy, and I was like, you know, I need to help this guy. I don't know how I'm going to help him. And I got out the car and he said, oh, you know, could you give me a lift into Penge, which is the nearest kind of place or whatever and all that. And I spent ages helping him into the car. He was in so much pain that he was wincing every time he was trying to sit down. And I got him into the back and he was in the car and it was stinking. I was thinking, oh, doing my good deed here. I'm you know, and he goes, oh, can you drive me in? Drove into Penge and he said, oh, if you could just pull up here. And it was the pub car park. And he got out the car and he went into the pub. And I was thinking, shit, what was it? And it really fucked with my head because I didn't know whether I was helping him or like just enable him to go and have a drink and make it worse and all that. So I drove around for the rest of the day just going, what the fuck is this? It really messed with my conscience. So I'd probably end up helping the pain
by helping him get pissed and not feel it anymore.
Yeah, more drinking time, you know.
My two things were, so the first one was like, someone I know, they said if someone's feeling crap, and then the other person, and then someone else like meets up with them and is like, I'm feeling great, and is actually like really happy and everything, then they should tone down their happiness, or otherwise it's disrespectful. And I just thought that's interesting. Let's start with that. I'd love to know where you guys stand with that. Kenny?
I think it depends on the situation. And the first situation that crosses my mind is speaking to a friend after he found out suddenly that his father, who's in a foreign country, was in hospital. And he saw a picture that he sent me, shocking picture of the state of his head with deep cut blood and stuff like that. And him telling his friend, who basically said, oh yeah, my father fell as well and he chipped a tooth, ha ha, and then he just carried on talking because his friend just couldn't meet him there. He just simply couldn't meet him there. Or he couldn't meet himself there, or he just doesn't do this kind of stuff. And the other guy got angry, understandably. There's a time and a place. There is a time for, yeah, that's real. And there is a time for, I can't be asked with that. I think, yeah, individual situations.
Paul?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Like, if I've met someone that was, you know, if I was having a really good day and in a really good mood, and that was a, you know, a situation like Kenny was just talking about, I think the old version of me would have been so messed up by that situation that I wouldn't have been able to continue that happiness for the rest of the day once we'd parted company. So I was so affected by people's pain and the stuff they were going through, I would just take it on as mine. So it would, you know, that happiness is gone now. So I get what you're saying. I guess I would just, it's like I push it down a little bit and preserve that for later in that situation.
That's connection, eh? That's empathy or something.
Mm.
And I've noticed in the groups recently how suddenly everyone can feel depressed, and then suddenly everyone's hysterically happy, and then suddenly everyone's scared of something, and then suddenly, and the way that extreme emotions ping and ping all over the place. And one of the most important things I would say I've heard and said in groups is that, same as my Mambo cartoon with the dog shitting out the spanner, all things will pass. And the most important thing for people to remember will pass are their suicidal ideas, because they have to have the space to pass. And when I've been there, it's like, it's always been like this, it will always be like this, and there's only one way out of it. And that's that space. But to break the spell by connecting and remembering it'll pass, and being around, being in an environment to then be a product of, or to then be touched by, to allow it to pass, most important thing, which for me is the importance of what we're doing over Christmas and New Year. Is, two groups on Christmas Day and New Year's Day is an important thing to do, for people to have something to look forward to check in with and break the spell and keep going through what can be the darkest of dark times for some people. I feel I just hijacked that with a little sermon. I'll stop now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know where that came from, that subject, and it's kind of bulldozed over mine, because it's a much more important subject, I think. And some of my dark nights of the soul type moments, or darkest periods of my life, have been over Christmas and New Year's, in my early 20s. So yeah, I think it is a really important topic. Like if I've been through it, then surely other people have as well. And it is good to know that, it's good to look back on those now. And like, obviously, when I was in it, it was like, this is my life. But now it's just like, each year goes by, it just gets more and more kind of in the background, which is quite a nice feeling. And it's like more in the past, and it's like, actually, that's not my life anymore. I didn't have friends then. I didn't have any kind of sense of purpose. I was just really, really lost. Yeah.
Can I say one quick thing? This is picking up from what we said before. And just to be clear with us and with my mum, who will be listening, I don't know if anyone else will, is money and success is wonderful as well. It's not like it's either passion and personal growth or success and a big car and a fur coat and a diamond ring or whatever. It's all allowed as far as I'm concerned, but as a celebration of life rather than a booby prize. So being happy and passionate and purposeful and having money and all the goodness, great. Just having the money and the goodness as a compensation. I know far too many people who have been suicidal because of that, having everything and being nothing, and the pointlessness and the disconnection. And I know a lot of very, very happy people who don't even consider money or a big car or anything, because there's no need for those things to be happy. It's like, well, I've got everything, why would I want to chase that? I just felt like I needed to put that straight, because I wouldn't want anyone to think that I or the organization or anyone is like, no, those things are bad and this is the only good way. No, it's choose all.
They are, really.
Sorry?
They are bad, really.
What, money and diamond rings and fur coats?
Yeah.
It depends on whether you're the animal.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was joking as well. It's like, I think as long as they're not a crutch.
Exactly.
And it's like clinging to these things to prove that, you know, you're happy or you're sorted, or trying to get happiness out of them.
The biggest tragedy is those that dedicate their lives to having all of those things. And when they have all of those things, the depression really sets in, because I've got everything I was supposed to have and I really feel like shit. And I'm not allowed to not feel like shit because I've got all these things. So now what? That's the tragedy. I'm not allowed to feel sad because I've got everything that everyone wants. So there must really be something wrong with me. And my wise words to that one is generally, bollocks to that. Now it's time for you to exist in your life. And that's what I had to do with myself, I guess.
Closing thoughts as we're running out of time.
I wanted to do a round on how we've survived each other, but we can save that for another time.
Yeah. The all kind of thoughts and emotions are important for me. That's what I've kind of got from this. It's like I'm just going to tell a quick story. I don't know how much time we've got, but it was as we were talking about that kind of depth thing and meeting people at depth, I was thinking of the swimming pool yesterday. So in the swimming pool, it was laned off. So a third of the pool was the hardcore kind of swimmers, really serious people, you know, doing their lengths. The rest of the pool was just people bobbing around and chatting and having fun and stuff. And it was, I sort of moved into the serious bit because I needed to swim and warm up. And that was nice for a bit. And then I moved over to the bit where people were chatting, and it was actually nice to be in that side of the pool as well. And it was just listening to you guys back then was just a reminder that all of that stuff is important. You know, the fun and the seriousness, and moving into it and meeting people in those spaces.
Okay.
Don't you have any closing thoughts? Or is it okay?
Yeah, your closing thoughts is what I'm asking for.
Who, me?
Yeah, I'm being polite and putting you first.
I thought I did mine, didn't I? My closing thought is we should have done a how did we survive each other? But I think that might be a good one for next time, is how have we survived our friends? Where have we found friends? What are the boundaries with friends? Who have we chucked and why? Blah, 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 all of that stuff. But, you know, what could be more intimate than us talking about us and how we've survived each other? And maybe by the time we have our next show, one of us might have chucked someone in the room.
Be like a reality TV show. For me, I don't know. I don't know if I have much to say. Like, I feel like we went through a lot. We got a lot of like gold nuggets cereal in that conversation. Yeah, it was good. I look forward to having more of them.
30 seconds.
Yep.
For 20 years, I've raised my bell and said 2 minutes. It felt really weird to raise my bell and say 30 seconds.